Healing stories from the book of Matthew. Matthew 4:23-25. Jesus heals a great multitude. And Jesus went about in all Galilee, teaching in their synagogues and preaching the good news of the kingdom, and healing every disease and every sickness among the people. And the report about him went out into all Syria, and they brought to him all who were sick, afflicted with various diseases and torments, possessed with demons, and epileptics and paralytics, and he healed them. And large crowds from Galilee and Decapolis, and Jerusalem and Judea, and from beyond the Jordan followed him. Matthew 8:1-4. Jesus heals a leper. And when he came down from the mountain, large crowds followed him. And look, a leper came to him and worshipped him, saying, "Lord, if you want to, you can make me clean." And he stretched out his hand and touched him, saying, "I am willing, be cleansed." And immediately his leprosy was cleansed. And Jesus said to him, "See that you tell nobody, but go, show yourself to the priest, and offer the gift that Moses commanded as a testimony to them." Matthew 8:5-13. Jesus heals the centurion's paralyzed servant. And when he came into Capernaum, a centurion came to him, asking him and saying, "Lord, my servant lies in the house paralyzed, grievously tormented." And he said to him, "I will come and heal him." And the centurion answered, "Lord, I am not worthy for you to come under my roof. Just say the word, and my servant will be healed. For I am also a man under authority, having under myself soldiers. I tell this one, 'Go,' and he goes, and tell another, 'Come,' and he comes, and tell my servant, 'Do this,' and he does it." And when Jesus heard it, he was amazed and said to those who followed, "Truly I tell you, I have not found so great a faith with anyone in Israel. And I tell you that many will come from the east and the west, and will sit down with Abraham and Isaac and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven. But the children of the kingdom will be thrown out into outer darkness. There will be weeping and grinding of teeth." And Jesus said to the centurion, "Go your way, let it be done for you as you have believed." And the servant was healed in that hour. Matthew 8:14-15. Jesus heals Peter's mother-in-law. And when Jesus came into Peter's house, he saw his mother-in-law lying sick with a fever. So he touched her hand, and the fever left her. She got up and served him. Matthew 8:16-17. Jesus heals a crowd after the Sabbath's sunset. And when evening came, they brought to him many possessed with demons. He cast out the spirits with a word and healed all who were sick, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken through Isaiah the prophet, saying, "He took our infirmities and bore our diseases." Matthew 8:28-34. Jesus heals two severely demonized men. And when he came to the other side, into the country of Gadarenes, two people possessed by demons met him there, coming out of the tombs exceedingly fierce, so that nobody could pass that way. And look, they shouted, saying, "What have we to do with you, Son of God? Have you come here to torment us before the time?" Now there was a herd of many pigs feeding far away from them, and the demons begged him, saying, "If you cast us out, permit us to go away into the herd of pigs." And he said to them, "Go." And they came out and went into the pigs. And look, the whole herd rushed down the cliff into the sea and died in the water. And those who fed them fled and went away into the city and told everything, including what happened to those who were possessed with demons. And look, all the city came out to meet Jesus. And when they saw him, they pleaded with him to leave their region. Matthew 9, 1-8. Jesus heals a paralyzed man. And he entered into a boat and crossed over and came into his own city. And look, they brought to him a man who was paralyzed, lying on a bed. And Jesus, seeing their faith, said to the paralytic, "Son, cheer up, your sins are forgiven." And look, some of the scribes said to them, "This man blasphemes." But Jesus, knowing their thoughts, said, "Why do you think evil in your hearts? For which is easier to say, 'Your sins are forgiven,' or to say, 'Get up and walk'? But that you may know that the Son of Man has the authority on earth to forgive sins." Then he said to the paralytic, "Get up and take up your mat and go up to your house." And he arose and departed to his house. Now when the crowd saw it, they were afraid and glorified God who had given such authority to men. Matthew 9, 18-19 and 23-26. Jesus raises a ruler's daughter from the dead. While he told these things to them, look, a ruler came and worshipped him, saying, "My daughter has just died, but come and lay your hand on her, and she will live." And Jesus got up and followed him, as did his disciples. And when Jesus came to the ruler's house and saw the flute players and the crowd in noisy disorder, he said, "Go away, for the girl is not dead, but asleep." And they laughed at him. But when the crowd was put out, he entered in, took her by the hand, and the girl arose. And the report of this went out into all the land. Matthew 9, 20-22. Jesus heals a woman with an issue of blood. And look, a woman who had an issue of blood for 12 years came behind him and touched the fringe of his garment. For she said within herself, "If I just touch his garment, I will be made well." But Jesus, turning around and seeing her, said, "Daughter, cheer up, your faith has made you well." And the woman was made well from that hour. Matthew 9, 27-31. Jesus heals 2 blind men. And as Jesus passed by from there, 2 blind men followed him, calling out and saying, "Have mercy on us, Son of David." And when he had come into the house, the blind men came to him, and Jesus said to them, "Do you believe that I am able to do this?" They told him, "Yes, Lord." Then he touched their eyes, saying, "According to your faith, be it done to you." And their eyes were opened. And Jesus strictly commanded them, saying, "See that no one knows about this." But they went out and spread abroad his fame in all that land. Matthew 9, 32-33. Jesus heals a mute man. And as they went out, look, a mute man who was demon-possessed was brought to him. And when the demon was cast out, the mute man spoke, and the crowds were amazed, saying, "Nothing like this has ever been seen in Israel." Matthew 9, 35. Jesus heals individuals and crowds throughout various cities. And Jesus went about all the cities and the villages, teaching in their synagogues and preaching the good news of the kingdom, and healing every disease and every sickness. Matthew 10:1. Jesus gives power to his disciples to heal the sick and cast out demons. And he called to himself his 12 disciples and gave them authority over unclean spirits to cast them out and to heal every disease and every sickness. Matthew 11:1-6. Jesus uses his healings and deliverances to validate his ministry to John the Baptist. And it happened that when Jesus had finished directing his 12 disciples, he departed from there to teach and proclaim in their cities. Now when John heard in the prison the works of the Christ, he sent a message by his disciples and said to him, "Are you the one who is to come, or should we look for another?" And Jesus answered them, "Go and tell John the things which you hear and see. The blind receive their sight, the lame walk, the lepers are cleansed, the deaf hear, the dead are raised up, and the poor have the good news preached to them. And blessed is he who is not offended by me." Matthew 12:9-14. Jesus heals a man of a withered hand on the Sabbath. And he departed from there and went into their synagogue. And look, there was a man with a withered hand. They asked him, "Is it lawful to heal on the Sabbath day?" that they might accuse him. And he said to them, "Which of you who has one sheep, if it falls into a pit on the Sabbath, will not take hold of it and lift it out? Of how much more value then is a person than a sheep? Therefore it is lawful to do good on the Sabbath." Then he told the man, "Stretch out your hand." And he stretched it out, and it was restored whole, just like the other. But the Pharisees went out and conspired against him, how they might destroy him. Matthew 12:22-23. Jesus heals a blind mute by casting out demons. Then one possessed by a demon, blind and mute, was brought to him, and he healed him, so that the mute man spoke and saw. And all the crowds were amazed and said, "Can this be the son of David?" Matthew 14:34-36. Jesus heals large crowds in the land of Gennesaret. When they had crossed over, they came to the land of Gennesaret. When the people of that place recognized him, they sent into all that surrounding region and brought to him all who were sick, and they begged him that they might just touch the fringe of his garment, and all who touched it were healed. Matthew 15:21-28. Jesus casts a demon out of a foreigner's daughter. Jesus went out from there and withdrew into the region of Tyre and Sidon. And look, a Canaanite woman came out of those borders and started shouting, saying, "Have mercy on me, Lord, Son of David. My daughter is severely demonized." But he did not answer her a word. His disciples came and pleaded with him, saying, "Send her away, for she keeps shouting at us." But he answered, "I was not sent to anyone but the lost sheep of the house of Israel." But she came and worshipped him, saying, "Lord, help me." But he answered, "It is not appropriate to take the children's bread and throw it to the dogs." But she said, "Yes, Lord, but even the dogs eat the crumbs which fall from their master's table." Then Jesus answered her, "Woman, great is your faith. Be it done to you even as you desire." And her daughter was healed from that hour. Matthew 15:29-31. Jesus heals large crowds. Jesus departed there and came near to the Sea of Galilee, and he went up into the mountain and sat there. Large crowds came to him, having with them the lame, blind, mute, crippled, and many others, And they put them down at his feet, and he healed them. So the crowd was amazed when they saw the mute speaking, crippled healthy, lame walking, and blind seeing, and they glorified the God of Israel. Matthew 17:14-21. Jesus casts a demon out of an epileptic boy. When they came to the multitude, a man came to him, kneeling down to him and saying, "Lord, have mercy on my son, for he is epileptic and suffers grievously. For he often falls into the fire and often into the water. So I brought him to your disciples, and they could not cure him." Jesus answered, "Faithless and perverse generation, how long will I be with you? How long will I bear with you? Bring him here to me." Jesus rebuked him. The demon went out of him, and the boy was cured from that hour. Then the disciples came to Jesus privately and said, "Why weren't we able to cast it out?" He said to them, "Because of your unbelief. For most certainly I tell you, if you have faith as a grain of mustard seed, you will tell this mountain, 'Move from here to there,' and it will move, and nothing will be impossible for you. But this kind doesn't go out except by prayer and fasting." Matthew 19:1-2. Jesus heals great multitudes in Judea. When Jesus had finished these words, he departed from Galilee and came into the borders of Judea beyond the Jordan. Great multitudes followed him, and he healed them there. Matthew 20:29-34. Jesus heals 2 blind men. As they went out from Jericho, a great multitude followed him. Behold, 2 blind men sitting by the road, when they heard that Jesus was passing by, cried out, "Lord, have mercy on us, you Son of David." The multitude rebuked them, telling them that they should be quiet. But they cried out even more, "Lord, have mercy on us, you Son of David." Jesus stood still and called them and asked, "What do you want me to do for you?" They told him, "Lord, that our eyes may be opened." Jesus, being moved with compassion, touched their eyes, and immediately their eyes received their sight, and they followed him.